talking about dinosaurs and dragons. That sounds a little fanciful, right? But we're going to talk about the scientific side of it. I promise there is a scientific side to dragons, even though it doesn't seem like it from looking at the past. Okay? So, the first thing which we want to talk about is the fact that dinosaurs are considered to have been extinct for a very long time, right? According to scientists, they say that dinosaurs have been extinct for how long? Does anybody know? I don't know the exact years, but they say millions of years. They say that dinosaurs have been extinct long before humans even existed, okay? And that's something which is very core to evolution. They're like, this is the evidence because there's no dinosaurs today and nobody's ever seen a dinosaur. Nobody's ever said anything about seeing a dinosaur in history, right? Okay? Well, we're going to talk about that claim. For one thing, they use it as evidence for evolution. But when we look at the actual evidence for dinosaurs, we see that it's actually contrary to what they're saying and lines up pretty well with what the Bible says. So let's see. What does Genesis say about dinosaurs? What?
That all creatures were created on the day that they were created.
Yep. What day were dinosaurs created? Who knows? What day?
On day 5.
No. Not on day 5, because day 5 is the birds of the air and the creatures of the sea. Day 6, yes. What else was created on day 6?
Us.
Yeah, we were created on day 6. Humans were created on day 6, the same day that the dinosaurs were created, which means that dinosaurs had to what? Live with humans, right? Okay, so there's a small problem. Wait a second. Dinosaurs are carnivores. That's the same problem with lions and bears and tigers and just anything that eats meat, right? They're all carnivores. But God didn't create everything to be carnivores. We're omnivores, right? We need meat and we need plants. But God didn't create us originally that way. That is our fallen state, that we need both. Our created state was that God created them to eat plants. Now, dinosaurs have serrated teeth, right? That's something which is very common when you look at those serrated teeth. But you know, serrated teeth aren't just good for eating meat. It's actually really great for cutting and ripping plants and chewing those up. I mean, what do you cut a tomato with? Do you cut a tomato with a flat-edged knife? No. You always go for a serrated knife when you're going to cut a tomato, right? Because if you don't go for that serrated knife, it's going to squash the tomato, and then it won't give you a nice cut, right? Serrated teeth do the same thing. They cut things very easily, especially plants. So you can see that even the teeth are designed perfectly for plants as well as for meat. And God was preparing for when the fall eventually happened and meat would become part of the menu, right? But he also knew that serrated teeth would be great for cutting plants. Okay? Now here's another thing. If we look at the fossil records, we see there's a lot of death, right? But also we see that dinosaurs are kind of a terror, right? They ate other animals. They ate each other. They attacked people even, okay? And so, well, we don't see that in the fossil records, but we assume it because of something else, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit, okay? But when we try to put Adam in there with the dinosaurs, if dinosaurs lived millions of years before people did, then that means that there was death and destruction before Adam and the first sin. That's a problem, biblically speaking. A big problem. Because sin is what caused death to enter into the world. And if dinosaurs were already eating and killing other animals, and then had all died out before Adam even came into the world, then sin and death would already be in the world, wouldn't they? Right? So, dinosaurs, if they were created on the same day that humans were, then they could have been in a state where they weren't eating other animals and there wasn't death to dinosaurs. As a matter of fact, the first animal deaths in the Bible, it says, are in Genesis 3, when God sacrificed animals in the place of Adam and Eve for their sins. It's very significant because it's the very first death that ever occurs in the entire world. He killed the animals to take the place of Adam and Eve. It's temporary because animals are not equal to humans, right? Animals cannot atone for human sin. But it still is very significant. And after that point, death became part of life. Animals started eating each other. And Adam and Eve were not actually given permission to eat animals yet. Actually, that came after Noah. After Noah, they were given permission to eat animals. But still, there was a whole lot more death because they started to sacrifice animals too. All right, but let's switch gears a little bit. Dragons. There are tons of myths about dragons throughout the world, right? There's St. George and the Dragon, right? We've heard of that one, I'm sure. There's Gilgamesh, which some of our students read last year maybe, or the year before, I can't remember. There's Chinese myths about dragons. Dragons have a lot to do with Chinese culture, right? Alexander the Great, in his annals, it says he encountered a dragon in India, right? And in 1572 even, a guy named Ulysses, I'm not sure who he was, but he recorded stuff. He recorded an encounter in Bologna, Italy, where a peasant encountered a somewhat large reptile and killed it. And it fits the description of a Tyrannosaurus. Yeah, I don't know how to say that word. Dragon. I'm just reporting what I've read about, okay? I don't know how to say that word. Okay, but it fits the description of a dinosaur. So, do you think these myths are too far-fetched? Do you think they're just plain myths? Or maybe they're talking about dinosaurs? We have them in every culture across the world. As a matter of fact, Indians, they have cave drawings of dinosaur-like creatures or dragon-like creatures. In Israel, not in Israel, but in countries which had pottery, like back when pottery was common, there are different countries around the world which have pottery drawings of these creatures that fit into the dragon's myth, right? But they also match the description of dinosaurs. So what are the characteristics of a dragon? Who knows? It should be easy. If you've ever read any stories about a dragon, what do dragons have?
Scales.
Fire-breathing scales. What do you want to say?
The Hobbit.
Fire-breathing scales. Okay, what else do they have? Sometimes they have wings. What else? What? Forked tongue, okay, forked tongue. They often lay what?
Eggs.
Eggs. Sometimes they're like huge eggs, right? In myths. But yeah, they are reptiles, right? They're always reptiles. They don't have anything to do with like feathers or anything like that. They can fly, some of them, yep. Some of them don't. Chinese, for sure, don't have wings. They are kind of like more of a snake in their cases. But yeah, so now what's the most far-fetched part of that? We see dinosaurs which have wings. They're called pteranodons, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't study dinosaurs. Pterodactyls, that's the right one. Thank you. Okay. But yeah, they have wings, so we see them, ones which can fly. We see their bones, we see their structures and everything. Okay, so that accounts for wings. We know that dinosaurs were all reptiles, so they're all going to be scaly, they're all going to lay eggs, and they're all going to be reptiles. Okay? But what else do we know about them? They breathe fire. That's probably the most far-fetched thing, right? And that's kind of consistent across many myths. You see that they all breathe fire. Well, let's check out what the Bible has to say about that. So we have Jonas with Job 41, verse 18 through 21.
His sneezings flash forth like and his eyes are like the eyelids of the dawn. Out of his mouth go flaming torches, sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils comes forth smoke, as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame comes forth from his mouth.
Thank you, Jonas. That sounds like a fire-breathing animal to me. I mean, smoke's pouring out of his nose. We hear about that with dragons. In cartoons, they've got like the little wisp of smoke coming out of its nose, right? And they breathe fire. It literally says, out of his mouth comes fire, right? Okay? When we look at the bones of dragons, or not dragons, sorry, dinosaurs. I'm getting myself confused with the terms now. There are some dinosaurs which have a cavity in their head, in their skull. Now this cavity has no purpose that we can find. But, theoretically, it could be a gas chamber. What would a gas chamber be used for? Fire breathing. That is something very interesting, right? Especially with the idea that we have myths about dragons. And the idea of myths in and of themselves is it's a fake story. But maybe they're not so mythical after all, right? Especially because we do see that chamber which could be used for gas. And the Bible even talks about fire-breathing animals, right? Fire-breathing beasts, okay? And actually, the fact that we don't see people saying, oh, I saw a dragon in the 1500s, which, by the way, that's really close to when we lived. That's only about 500 years ago. Because that's when Shakespeare lived. He was alive. Think about that for perspective, yeah.
We have Komodo dragons today.
We have Komodo dragons, yep. They're smaller, considerably, but still, they're very similar to the reptiles which we're talking about. But in 1841, the reason why we don't see people saying, oh, I saw a dragon in the 1500s, or not a dragon, a dinosaur in the 1500s, is because in 1841, that's when they coined the term dinosaur. That's when it existed. It was the first time anybody called it that, and that was when they found bones. In 1841, they uncovered bones to dinosaurs. Man, I'm getting confused with the terms today. And that's when they coined the term dinosaur. So you don't have the term dinosaur in the 1500s when Ulysses is recording the encounter in Bellona, right? You don't have any of that. You have the term dragon and other words which mean the same thing as dragon, right? Okay, so let's see. Sydney's got Job 40, verse 15 through 19.
Look at the behemoth which I made along, and which feeds on grass and an ox. What strength he has in his loins, and what power in the muscles of his belly. His tail sways like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are close knit. His bones are tubes of bronze, his loins like rods of iron. He ranks first among the works of God, and his maker can approach him with his word. Is that it?
Yep, just through 19. Thank you. Yeah, so guys, we look at this creature, it's saying it has bones as strong as bars of iron, and its tails like a cedar tree, right? Well, when we look at that creature and we look at how it's described, and we look at the fossil records and we see the dinosaurs which we're looking at, it matches the description of a sauropod dinosaur. It fits the description which God gave of his creation, his creature, which he was using to show Job how mighty he was. But not only that, he's telling Job these things like, look at it. Don't just think about what I'm telling you about. He's saying, go look at it. He says, look at the behemoth which I have made. As if Job had seen this animal wandering around in the forest or wherever he was. Obviously, he talks about the Jordan River, so maybe he lives over by the Jordan River and he's seeing the behemoth go into the Jordan River. Okay? He's telling him, this creature exists. Go look at it. Look at my power. Look at my glory and how great I am that I made this beast and you are not able to overpower it, but I am, right? Because I am its creator. Okay, and we have Jonas with Job 41, verse 5 through 15.
Will you play with him as with a bird, or will you put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders bargain over him? Will they divide him up among the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hands on him. Remember the battle. You will not do it again. Behold, the hope of a man is false. He is laid low even at the sight of him. No one is so fierce that he dares to stir him up. Who then is he who can stand before me? Who has first given to me that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. I will not keep silence concerning his limbs, or his mighty strength, or his goodly frame. Who can strip off his outer garment? Who would come near him with a bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? Round his teeth is terror. His back is made of rows of shields, shut up closely as with a seal.
Okay? And then Sydney's going to get us verse 25 through 33. My apologies. Through 33.
When he rises up, the mighty are terrified. They retreat before his thrashing. The sword that reaches him has no effect, nor does the spear or the dart of the javelin. Iron retreats like straw, and bronze like rotten wood. Arrows do not make him flee. Slingstones are like chaff to him. A club seems to him but a piece of straw. He laughs at the rattling of the lance. His undersides are jagged potsherds.
Potsherds.
Huh?
You got it.
Potsherds, leaving a trail in the mud like a thrashing sledge. He makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron, and stirs up the sea like a cloud of rain. Behind him he leaves the glistening wake, one wood between white hair. Nothing on earth is his equal, a creature without fear.
Okay. So this one sounds like a dragon or a dinosaur too, right? And it's got similar qualities to the behemoth, but this one is a sea beast, isn't this? You can hear it talking about it churning the depths, right? And how it's got the scales which interlock like a shield, and a harpoon cannot pierce through it, right? So it's God still telling Job exactly how powerful he is and how he created this. But it's also God showing him, look at this other animal which I created, which is just like the behemoth. It is a dinosaur too. As a matter of fact, we've named dinosaurs after this one, because we are like, okay, well, it's probably one of these sea dinosaurs which we see. And so they named a whole bunch of them different variations of the Leviathan, right? And so this one, actually, if you see, we have Job 41, 5 through 15 and 25 through 33, but up here we did 41, 18 through 21. This is the fire-breathing one. This is the one which it fits right there in that gap. I split it up because it worked out best that way, but that's the one which breathes fire. And so we see that creature which is described like a dinosaur that has mythical properties of the dragons, and we see them all starting to come together as the same beasts, right? So why do we not have dinosaurs anymore? Or dragons anymore? Anybody know? Extinction. How did they become extinct? They were hunted. There's all these tales of great warriors who were slaying them, right? Obviously they were hunted. There's the flood. That wiped out quite a few of them. I mean, that's why we have so many wonderful fossil records of dinosaurs, right? But they still were preserved because God preserved all the animals of the earth in the flood, right? So then they were hunted again, probably, because they're not exactly nice animals, according to our fossil records and obviously these stories. And we also have the Ice Age. Now that seems a little bit like crazy. What are you talking about, Ice Age? I'm not talking about how there were like millions of years of Ice Age. I'm talking about glacial periods where the glaciers came down lower because after the flood would have set off volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions would have superheated the atmosphere because there's volcanic eruptions all over the world, which would have then caused it to need to supercool in certain places, which would mean glaciers would have descended very fast and very far. Dinosaurs are reptiles, which means they're what?
Cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded, right? They can't survive the cold. You don't see lizards in the Arctic. You just don't. They live in the desert, right? Because they need the warmth from the sun. So dinosaurs would have fallen out of fashion at least. But who's to say that there aren't dinosaurs still left? We haven't seen the depths of the ocean. We haven't been to the innermost parts of every cave. And we haven't even explored every forest completely. So maybe there's some dinosaurs left out there. Who knows? All right, that's all we're talking about today.